All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Green White Checker TV. We got race number 1 of 3 of the playoffs tonight for the Area 51 Superspeedway Cup Series. Last week had the fun off week at the Monza Oval, so a lot of chaos, but I think you guys had some fun again, blowing off some steam before they get back to reality here tonight. So we got top 8 drivers again eligible for that championship this season. So right now we've got, again, being the opening season, right now you can see it's a really tight field with only one person with 2 wins, Gabe Butler. So he's got a 5-point advantage over Jim Brooks. And then you see a handful of one-time winners, Kevin Freese, Kevin Hash, Eric Laurie, and then he's going to have a 10-point advantage over Chad Wilkes. Chad Wilkes got a win as well, if I'm not mistaken. And Todd Merkel, Matt Quick, will be the remainder of those top 8. So yeah, so say 75 laps here tonight. The fuel window is going to be a little tighter than usual. Say they've reduced the fuel a little bit more to try to make sure we get that third pit stop in. So I think that's going to definitely come into play. It's probably one of the most difficult pit roads to enter on. And I'll say my partner in crime, usually Dale Knott, he's in Darlington. Say finished up the race over there, but say obviously going to be hanging out with some friends, having a great time. So hope you're enjoying yourself, Dale. However, I say I've kind of got your replacement for Thursday. He's kind of doing some extra duty here tonight. I've got Maxwell with me this evening on the Sunday side of things. So say I'm glad our schedule's coordinated again, Maxwell, for this side. I say looking forward to catching you again on Sundays every week, but always good to have you a little bit extra here as well for the Superspeedway side of things.
Oh, absolutely. Excited to be here, Gail, and just excited to see these super speedway guys go at it for their playoffs, man. Looking at the points, you've got these top 8 within 10 points. That's nothing on a super speedway. So that can be changing up constantly throughout the race. So be watching these guys with the P's next to their name, indicating a playoff driver. Be watching for those guys to be dicing it out. I know in the Thursday night series, we had, 6 of the top 8 kind of running top 6 all night. So I expect nothing less in this Super Speedway series tonight.
Yeah, exactly right. And saying qualifying obviously going to be the first of that because I mean bonus points, that's going to be really crucial as well. I mean get a pole position, that's going to be one bonus point in your pocket to kind of help extend that little bit. And then of course the leading the most laps, no incident points, getting some bonus there as well. And then maybe someone goes for the off strategy, maybe starts from the back here, tries to get the highest climber award, get a bonus point there as well. So a lot of potentials for getting little points here and there because I mean we've seen so many times where the difference between 8th and 9th, or in this case going to be 4th and 5th in 2 races, it can be a point or two. And so I mean every little bonus point you can get I think is going to be extremely critical in these 2 races before we get to that final 4.
Absolutely. And look at some of these guys not qualifying tonight. You've got 3 playoff drivers, 3 heavy hitters. You've got Jim Brooks, Kevin Freeze, and Gabe Butler, who we all know is a past champion and can pretty well come from the back to the front fairly easy. So look for them to be going for as many bonus points as possible. And this iRacing Super Speedway, it's massive. It's got tons of banking. It's got tons of speed. And these Xfinity cars are going to fly around here. Probably looking at speeds of probably, 215, 220, if not even faster than that going around here. So plenty of big runs and plenty of opportunity to get to the front quick.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I think that's why you see the strategy, like you said, from those guys going to start in the back, try to work their way forward. So with that, qualifying has completed. So let's go ahead and go over our starting grid for tonight's event. Pole position is going to go to that number 6 of Bud Steele. Next to him, Dean Wilkinson in the number 55, Randy Miner third. The first of our playoff contenders, Matt Quick, is going to start 4th. Right behind him, you got Kevin Hash. Then you got Corey Lane, Chad Wilkes, Todd Merkel. So there you see you've got 4 of the 8 playoff drivers in that top 8 like we talked about. Then 9th through 16th, you've got Craig Forsyth, Matt Wagner, Raymond Rittenauer, Alberto Lopez, Nick Manfredi. Then you got Eric Laurie, Kevin Freeze, Gabe Butler. Say those are the other 3 we talked about on the playoff side. And then the last group here, you got James Ledford, Kyle Hess, Dale Willoughby, Robbie Richards, and then second to last, you got Jim Brooks, our final playoff driver. So he's going to start furthest of those playoff drivers, and Todd Siebel is going to round out the field here in 22nd. So yeah, so not what I expected, honestly, Maxwell. On the qualifying side of things, I really thought we would see, like you said, kind of the Kevin Freeze, Gabe Butlers, one of those guys to be trying to qualify in that pole position, get that bonus point for the pole. But say so, you see Matt Quick, the closest to those to do that, but he was kind of spoiler, but there by Bud, Dean, and Randy. So say he's going to have a good qualifying spot, a nice pit stall, but it's going to be again, unfortunately, doesn't get the bonus point for that side of things. So. He's going to have to kind of watch for that extra bonus point for maybe some of those guys behind him, again, trying to make that strategy call to go from the back to the front here tonight.
Absolutely. And, a couple of things I'm going to be looking for tonight. I'm going to be looking for the guys going for most of those bonus points. Someone like a Jim Brooks, Gabe Butler, going for not only lap led or most laps led, but starting from the back and getting up front. Notice a playoff driver didn't get the pole, so there's no bonus point there. Pit selection, I think, is going to be huge as far as trying to get in and out of pit road. And also be watching for just these guys trying to stay out of incidents tonight. I mean, this track is known for when there's a crash, it's going to be big. So, and be watching for penalties. I mean, coming on pit road, we talked about it earlier before the broadcast. It is going to be very tight, very difficult coming down this pit road. It's got a lot of inviting room, but a very small time frame to get woed down from 220 down to, I believe it's the 70 or 80 miles an hour that it is.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. That's something, I was going to bring up as well. So you're spot on there. Just that pit entry. I mean, you're coming out of turn number 4. Like you said, you're probably 220 plus, and then you got to get this thing down to 65 with that huge banking transition as well. So there's a lot going on here tonight to try to make all of that happen. And then of course, like you said, on the pit stall side of things, you got to make sure that you're going to be working with those guys around you as well, because it's very easy to kind of maybe you get into the pits well, but then you still have to hit the pit stall. So like you talked about some of those guys like Eric Laurie, Kevin Freeze, Gabe Butler, they're going to be pitting right next to each other. So they got to make sure that they don't kind of step on each other's toes getting into their pit stalls. We saw a few weeks ago there was some contact entering the pit stall with one of the drivers, spun him on around. And so say that kind of threw him out of contention. So there's a lot of things that can go wrong. That also can go right, though, of course. And I think that's what everybody's going to be eyeing here tonight.
One last thing I'm going to be looking for, we're going to be finding out who your friends are on track, right? We've got a lot of guys that work together week after week, but we've got 8 playoff contenders who all want that championship and that $150 at the end. Who's going to work with each other, and who's going to hang each other out to dry to get that spot they need for the playoffs? It's going to be exciting to watch here as we get ready to come to the green.
Yeah, it's a great point as well. Yeah, we'll have to see kind of who your friends are and maybe when those alliances end. Is it after this race? Is it in the season finale at Talladega? Say we got to get there first as the green flag does come out, and we are underway against 75 laps scheduled distance here at iRacing Superspeedway. Bud Steele and Dean Wilkinson lead the front row.
Here they go side by side going off into turn 1, building that momentum up. Probably going to take half to 3/4 of a lap to actually get up to full speed. But we're already seeing speeds upward of 200 mile an hour now as we see Matt Quick go wide up into the 3rd lane. I think he's going to just hang out for a while, it looks like.
Yeah, I think Matt Quick wants no part of this up front. I think he's thinking long-term strategy, so he's going to roll to the back there in that 89 car. Up front, though, Bud Steele, he's going to hold on to the front. So like you mentioned, though, right now a lot of the playoff guys kind of dropping back right now. The one of the few that's kind of staying towards the front is going to be that 03 Kevin Hash on the inside line with another playoff contender, that 17 of Chad Wilkes right behind him. So right now those are the top 2 of the playoff runners in the field here this evening. But again, I think a lot of differing strategies here are going to be going through this race tonight.
Absolutely, and the guy I'm keeping my eye on tonight is that 03 of Kevin Hash. I know he's very aggressive in these rooms, but he's also a very smart driver when it comes to the super speedways. Hanging out with him after races, I've learned a lot just talking to him. So he knows what to do, he knows what he needs to get done, and he knows he's got a 3-race playoff to complete. He's got a good friend in Chad Wilkes behind him, and he's got plenty of great track position right now, good clean air, so look for him just to kind of hang out for a while, but watch him at the end to be there to make a move for this win.
Yeah, so that's gonna be the question: is when do you kind of make those moves? Like if you're a Kevin Hash, do you think about trying to jump front, get that lap lead out of your way early, or do you just kind of let the race kind of unfold and see how everything pans out? Which right now it kind of seems like he's in that ride mode right now. Doesn't have the opportunity to get to the top right now. You see Matt Wagner up top leading that group with Todd Merkel right behind him, and then you got the 010 of Corey Lane in that second groove as well. So. Right now, it doesn't have the opportunity to jump top here, so I was curious to see if he'd try to make that big run, get to the top, and get that lap lead, but right now, Bud Steele's still going to hold pace here up top.
And I think you're going to see this second lane really have a lot of momentum as more cars start to join them here. It's just less of a turning radius for these cars, so especially these Xfinity cars, for sure, if you can keep that momentum up, you're really going to be able to get runs as we see the 81 and the 11 both clear and kind of work together here to take the lead. And for Matt Wagner to go and get one of those oh-so-valuable bonus points.
Yeah, saying Matt's going to – I think he's got something to prove here tonight. So he missed out, I believe, on the playoff, but I want to say it was a tie for that 9th spot by 1 point where 2 drivers missed out just by that tiniest of margin. So I think Matt's going to be one of those that's going to want to try to kind of show, like, hey, if I was in this, you would be dealing with me. Next season, I think also kind of the same thing. But the other thing, of course, is going to be the team side of things as well. Saying a lot of drivers some have kind of gone and focused more on the driver side of things, but there's been a group that have really focused hard on the team side of the championship. And I mean, there's going to be some prize money there as well. So there's going to be kind of 2 things for some of these groups to be worrying about, which right now, say Matt Wagner, I think, again, I think he's going for kind of 2 birds here. It looks like he's going to try to get that result he's been wanting, while still also, of course, best result you can get is get a win here, and that's going to also help your team a long ways.
And what an awesome idea we have here to have this team championship, because even though you're out of the driver championship, you can still help your team and you can still end the season with a little bit of prize money to kind of say that you had a successful season some way, somehow. May not have been on the driver's side of things, but it shows that you can be a good team player. So look for these teammates that are outside that playoff window to truly start supporting their teammates and being the ones that push them up front or make sure the entire team has a great finish toward the end. It's going to be exciting to watch that unfold.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how it all pans out. We've seen it's kind of changed over the races. I think drivers have adjusted. Like initially, there was definitely where it seemed like everybody just tried to line up with their teammates and just try to kind of be completely dedicated to them. And there's times where it doesn't work very well that way, unfortunately. And so now some of these drivers kind of basically get the best result they can get for themselves, which in turn helps the team. Because the problem is if you're all pitting together as one group, if you guys make a mistake, then you're all out of it. So we've seen a lot of drivers kind of mixing up their strategies to really try to kind of give them kind of multiple attempts, if you will, whereas, okay, let's all stagger by a lap or whatever it may be to give ourselves the best potential, or maybe one of our groups gets in that lead pack to end that final charge to the finish.
Absolutely. Gail, something I'm noticing here early on, you have Todd Merkel up there in second as a playoff driver, but the rest of them, let's look at where they're running. Next guy in the playoffs is only 7th position. You got Chad Wilkes, he's dropped back to 12th. Matt Quick back to 14th. Kevin Hash running in the 16th position. Kevin Freeze, Jim Brooks, Gabe Butler right there at the tail end of the pack. None of these playoff guys are really risking it very early on. So I wonder what kind of strategy they have there. They're not looking for that lap lead like we thought. I don't think a playoff driver has yet to lead a lap in this event tonight.
No, I think you're right. I think right now it's been the 11 of Matt Wagner, 6 of Bud Steele. I think those are the two right now. So we'll be curious to see. I say Todd Merkel, like I said, he's the closest to do so. Just hasn't had the opportunity as of yet. It's been really dedicated to Matt. You wonder at some point maybe Matt returns a favor, lets him sneak on by, get that lap led or not. But I'd say the other thing too is, I mean, we talked about the reduced fuel levels here. That might be coming into play too, where these guys may be saying, all right, we're going to ride in the back, not take our chances at this point. But then also, I mean, we're able to save a handful of probably tenths of a gallon, I should say, at this point of fuel. So I mean, right now these leaders going about 240, 242. It looked like entering turn number 1 there. So I'd say there's a lot of potential as well on the fuel side of things to try to play those strategy calls to make the right call, to maybe try to sneak one out on the strategy side of things as well.
I think you were reading my mind there, Gail, because I was thinking the same thing about that fuel number and that fuel mileage, but it's such a big track as this and the short amount of laps they can truly go. I don't really know that there's any big fuel strategy here, because if you get left out away from the pack just because you stayed out an extra lap, there's no telling how many spots you could lose or the draft you might lose. So if I'm Todd Merkel right now, my thought would be I need to lead as many laps as I can. That way I can not only get a point for leading the lap, but that extra point for leading the most laps. And Gail, I could easily see in this series the difference between 4th and 5th place for that Final Four could come down to one single point, as tight as they are right now. So I think every bonus point matters right now. If I'm Merkel, I'm getting up front and I'm leading the majority of laps tonight.
Yeah, no, I think that's kind of the mindset I would have as well, to have that opportunity, because I'd say right now you can see on that outside line now it's going to be Corey Lane kind of pushing the charge up front. Don't think he's going to quite have enough to clear. As I said, he just has enough to clear. He's going to leave Craig Forsyth hanging out on the top side there, though. But you're right, though. I mean, if you can stretch the fuel an extra lap, that's all well and good. But if you're the only one doing it, you're going to be running a full lap by yourself. I mean, you're going to be dropping seconds off the pace doing so. Like I said, that's going to cost you the draft as well. So I think this is probably the most critical track to have that good pit entry and exit, because of just the difficulty of it here. So it'll be really interesting to see how this all kind of keeps unfolding. But right now, you see Craig Forsyth, he's actually picked up that big push from the 55 Dean Wilkinson. I think, like you're saying, I think this time they both might be able to clear. But as I say, Craig actually jumps down a little earlier than I would have suspected. Unfortunately, it's going to put Dean in a bad spot there entering 3.
Yes, and as these non-playoff guys, I know I keep saying non-playoff and playoff, but that's going to matter in these plate races. As you see those guys kind of duking it out and battling it out, they have really nothing to lose other than their team points. But you've got these playoff guys. I'm looking at it now. You've got 6 out of the 8 outside the top 10 right now. I'm telling you, man, if I was that 81, I would be looking at my standings and I would be thinking, I've got to get up here and lead some laps. Like, this is my opportunity to control this race and to be able to get as many bonus points as possible, since they're all hanging out in the back. Because if we get one massive wreck, all 6 of those guys could get swept up in it. And that could open the door for someone like Todd Merkel or Eric Laurie to really take advantage early in these playoffs.
Yeah, exactly right. And like you said, right now Todd really the only one in the front group here, right around the 5th position or so in that 81 car. Like you mentioned, Eric Laurie just barely inside the top 10 in that 9th spot. But oh, actually, no, I'm sorry. He's now fallen back to 12th. He's actually fallen back now with the 89 of Matt Quick and company. So now Todd Merkel, actually the only playoff driver in that top 10. And you can see really the only playoff driver in this lead pack as well. So everybody's really, you can see the second pack here, just all single file, all spread out here. Definitely kind of looks like just damage mitigation, damage prevention, if you will. Where actually now it looks like almost the whole field really starting to spread out in the single file group as well here. So looks like this race is kind of taking a turn for the strategy where kind of everybody's kind of doubling up and kind of leapfrogging each other. They've kind of settled in here on this on lap number 12.
Yes, now that we see them all single file, there's not really a whole lot to be calling right now, but it's just trying to get into the minds of these drivers and see what are they thinking, what are they planning. And you know they could be getting ready to start thinking about pit stops. We are on lap 13 now. You know, the fuel window is probably around 16 to 18 laps, I'd be guesstimating here, with their limited fuel numbers. So they're probably getting ready to pit. That's probably why they decided to get single file. But I'm telling you, if I was Todd Merkel, I would be doing anything I could to try to be getting that lead so I could not only lead coming into the pits, but I could come out and start leading some laps and getting those bonus points. So huge pit strategies getting ready to come up here, I believe. And that may be why a lot of guys are in the back so they can all pit together as well.
Yes, and what I really expected to see on that pit stop cycle will be some of those guys in that back where, again, if they were maybe trying to save that extra lap, or then, okay, they kind of let loose the sandbags, if you will, and then really send it on that, like maybe coming to two to the pit stop, knowing that they can run maybe one more lap than the Craig Forsyth or Matt Wagner or Corey Lane, one of those guys has been leading some laps. But right now, so like I said, haven't seen that big push from them as of yet. So right now, I think just, again, full-on strategy call from these guys. So yeah, it'll be really interesting. And saying for Todd Merkel, I kind of same thing. I wonder maybe he is just kind of being up front, but really trying to really save that fuel. Like I said, he hasn't been pushing too hard or anything like that. You see, he's got a nice little gap between himself and the 11 of Matt Wagner. So maybe Todd aiming to try to see if he can push that one extra lap as well. Get that lap led the easy way, if you will, say, instead of pushing towards the front early on. So it's going to be interesting to see. Like I said, we're going to start lap number 15 next time by. And actually, I think I just saw one jump in now. Here comes a first group of cars, though. It's going to be Eric Laurie. It's going to be, let's see, that's the 25 of Kevin Freeze, Dale Willoughby, and Gabe Butler. So we got 4 drivers opting to pit here on lap number 15. I think they can go a little further, but I think this is a kind of going an off-sequence strategy call for those 4.
Looks like they're splitting it off into 15-lap increments. That puts them at, what, 4 stops to make? And kind of keeps them all equaled out on their fuel and where they're going. This is probably to where they can set up their last pit stop to where they can pit in earlier than everybody else and just get out and start drafting and building that momentum up so that when the other guys have to pit with maybe, 10, 12 to go, that they can go ahead and leapfrog them with the momentum they have and be able to control the race the last 10 laps. That would be my thought.
Yeah, so it's going to be a risk versus reward as well, though. So it looks like actually just one driver on his own there. The 48 of James Ledford saw him jump into the pits there. So he's going to get things down to speed. But my concern now is this track, as fast as you're going, I don't know if these guys are going to be able to hang on to the lead lap, because right now they're coming out of turn number 2 now, and that lead pack's going to be coming on. Yeah, actually, here they go right now. So it's actually going to put them a lap down. So this is where you're on a little bit of pins and needles here, hoping that the cycle works in your favor after the cycle's completely through. The other thing to mention too, Maxwell, is I'm wondering maybe that pit stop, the timing of this pit stop might put them in the 1 can of fuel territory, saves them that second plug-in, which saves you a lot of time in the pits as well.
And it easily could be that too. And here we see all of the lead pack cars start coming down in here.
Oh, it's
pit
a
stops
big
are underway
kick.
for the leaders. Did the 27 get slowed down in time? We're going to have to see.
Oh, man, it's a massive group here. I'm amazed nobody turned to one another. I think everybody got through. But yeah, I think we're going to see some speeding penalties. I saw a lot of tire lock up there. What that does do, though, is so that's going to cycle things around now here. Matt Quick in the 89 machine. And you got Kevin Hash, Raymond Rittenauer. And also, I believe I saw the 86 of Kyle Hess. So those 4 are able to stretch 1 extra lap out of their fuel tanks here. And I was saying that's kind of what Matt Quick is known for. So, I mean, that's going to give Matt that lap led in the 89 car. That's going to be a big bonus for him. We saw him drop to the back early on. So I suspect we'll see this small group of 4. I think we'll see them come in this time around.
Absolutely, and here they come diving onto pit road themselves, trying to get down to that speed. I'm hoping that big group isn't too big to where they lose momentum on that apron trying to get up to speed. Might have been why that first group came in so early and this last group so late. But we're going to see as they start cycling off pit road. Let's see where they shake out.
Yeah, so right now, and do need to mention, you're asking me about penalties. It looks like 2 drivers did get caught there. Craig Forsyth, Corey Lane, they're still sitting in the pits, and I think that's definitely that 40-second stop and hold. But it looks like Todd Siebels, I think he's going to be the quickest out of the pits in that 45 car. Had a really quick stop there. He's going to be leading us. And once again, we talk about Todd Merkel. He's going to come out here in second place. So we'll see, maybe he can use this momentum, get this draft off the 55 car of Dean Wilkinson. Maybe he can push himself and get that lap lead that he's been looking for.
Absolutely, and I just noticed on pit stops we had the 0-10 of Corey Lane kind of pulled out a little bit earlier than everybody else and has a huge gap to the rest of those cars that pitted with him. And we have a yellow out on track.
Out. Yeah, mid pit stop cycle. Trying to see where it's at. I think it might have been. Oh yeah, I see 27 Craig Forsyth definitely involved. So his car spinning around on the grass. So mid pit cycle caution here might actually bail a few drivers out. Let's see what happened to Craig here.
That might have been what that 0-10 of Corey Lane needed after getting that big gap to keep the lead after that pit stop.
Oh, actually, I think it may have been Corey Lane that brought the yellow out. So I'm jumping back a little forward. I think he may have. Yeah, it looks like he spun out. So we'll jump back and get a better angle of it here. So I saw a car around. Yeah, you can see just immediately, as soon as he gets into turn number 1, I mean, you're just flat on the apron. Nothing you can do. And so that car just snaps around on him. But I think he's going to get away with it. Just, again, going to be sliding the tires. I don't think I saw any contact around him with any of the other drivers. So might be kind of one of those bad situations, but worst case scenarios. As yeah, he grabs the gear, he keeps on moving. So looks like he's gonna get away with. Oh, that's where Craig Forsyth got into the grass. He was trying to avoid that number 0-10 of Corey Lane. So but that's able to get back out on track. You can see all good at the end of things here. But that the beneficiary of this one though, Maxwell, it's gonna be Matt Quick in the 89 car. He had just made his pit stop, the latest of the group, along with Kevin Hash, Raymond Rittenauer. And so they weren't completely out of the pits, and so they basically didn't have that group behind them cycling through with that big head of steam here. So it's going to keep Matt Quick here up front.
And my question with this caution coming out, with Corey Lane being the one spinning and him being now a lap down, is there going to be a lucky dog, or are they going to give it to the next car in line, which would be Craig Forsyth?
Well, yeah, that's a good question, because I mean, Craig had obviously got the incident point for going into the grass to avoid the 0-10 car, so sometimes it might make you ineligible from that as well. I saw the 20 of Alberto Lopez go on by the pace car. Not sure if he was the free pass, or maybe he was just kind of getting cycled back around. Maybe he was in front of the leaders once that caution flew. So say the one I want to watch though is going to be, I believe, that 071 Eric Laurie. He might wind up being the lucky dog. We'll keep an eye on that as well, as it looks like most of the lead pack's going to pit here under this caution flag. But this will give Todd Merkel, I think he's going to finally stay out. He's going to get that first lap lead that we've just been talking about.
And if I'm Todd Merkel and I'm staying out, I am going to fight as hard as I can for the lead. And these guys pitting right here, I'm trying to wrap my mind around these fuel numbers and how this benefits. But if anything, I'm thinking more than anything, they're just trying to get a little extra fuel to where they can go back to the back and hang out in the back. Don't be shocked if some of these guys pitting also come under with one to go, just to top off those fuel cells to see if they can pull off a little bit of a different strategy here tonight. But with the fuel window as tight as it is, around that 15 to 17 lap range we saw, I just don't know if that's going to be a huge benefit as far as the amount of fuel, other than just kind of getting them in the back and out of harm's way.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I'm kind of thinking the same there, Maxwell. I think they're just trying to probably just shorten their pit stops overall, like I said, and gives them the opportunity also to kind of go off cycle, or maybe this time maybe someone runs long instead of running short. And again, if you get that timely caution, maybe you trap the field where they all have to take a wave around, something along those lines. We've seen that happen before as well. So basically we had 4 stay out. It's going to be Todd Merkel, Todd Siebels, Bud Steele, Nick Manfredi. Those are going to be the 4 that are staying out. And again, with this being a big track, it's quick yellow, so it means it's going to be 1 to go this next time around. So they're not going to get the opportunity to come in the second time if they didn't come in the first time around. And one thing I did notice though is that 0-10 of Corey Lane, he did stay out. He's on the tail end of the lead lap, so he's going to get the wave around still to actually get himself back on the lead lap this way. Craig Forsyth did get the lucky dog, so he's back on the lead lap as well in the 27 machine, which is only going to leave Eric Laurie as the only driver 1 down. So obviously Eric going to be hoping for see if he can get that caution to come out one more time, get himself back on the lead lap, because right now he's one of our playoff contenders, and right now he's in that 22nd position and last right now.
Absolutely. So that's a huge break for Corey Lane. He had fresh tires. I mean, he just took a small little slide. I don't think that's going to hurt him here at the Super Speedway. So we're going to see him right now take that wave around as we start doubling up for this restart here. But just some things to notice, even with Eric Lurie a lap down, you may think he's down and out of the count, but if you think this is going to be the last caution here tonight, I wouldn't be placing a lot of bets on that. You know what they say in this Super Speedway racing, man. Cautions bring cautions. And these guys were going 2 and 3 wide very early on in the first run, and they were getting away with it then. But laps are already clicking away. We're 21 laps into this, going to be restarting on lap 22. That's not a whole lot of laps left. This is the time of the race where you're going to really want to start positioning yourself to get yourself up front in that top 5, that top 8 position. That way you can start playing that fuel strategy, the pit strategy, trying to settle yourself up to get that lead. And we talked about those guys that pitted earlier. Thought of this as well, Gael. Maybe they're setting themselves up like you talked about, or that last pit stop, they're not putting a whole lot of fuel in at all. They may pit around the same time, but they really won't have to put that much fuel in, which shortens that pit stop, which gets them out quicker and helps them get farther away from the field.
Yeah, exactly right. And so it's going to be a pretty interesting look and restart, too, because you're going to have 4 cars double file, and then everybody else is going to be singled up on the inside line, just from everybody topping off. Only 4 drivers opting to stay out under that caution flag. Everybody went in the second time around, and then everybody topped off as well. So we're going to have a lot of drivers trying to basically catch back up to the field here. And actually, a few drivers are going to have to hustle a little bit here because we've got to say we're coming out of turn number 4, and it's a good group of cars that haven't caught up yet. So it's going to be a little bit of a tough pull for these guys to catch back up. You can see the 09 coming in the picture. You see a few more still kind of chasing back down here. So let's say they're going to have to hustle to make it. You see a few drivers actually locking up to make sure that they don't run into the back of one another. But this restart is going to be a little jumbled up here as we get back to green.
And a great restart for Todd Merkel there. Just not enough cars on that outside lane to start building momentum. Look for the 45 and the 29 to start really falling to the back unless somebody lets them in line. But if I'm Bud Steele right now, I'm not a playoff driver. There's a guy in front of me trying to lead some laps. I know they're good buddies in this league. I would be trying to push that 81 and just help him lead as many laps as he can. He's got to get the most laps led from this race, period, to get that extra bonus point. A point that nobody else in the field can get. That could be huge for his chances of making the top 4.
Yeah, exactly right. So obviously getting some laps led now. And like I said, right now only I believe the second driver has led a couple of laps here of the playoff side of things. I think Matt Quick being the other in the 89 car. And we got some drivers pitting right away here. Not sure if this is a strategy. This could be some pit penalties here. I saw the 12 Robbie Richards. He was in right away. And now we've got Alberto Lopez, Kevin Hash, Raymond Rittenauer. They're all hitting the pits as well. Craig Forsyth as well. So we were talking about how jumbled up that restart is. I'm a little nervous that there may have been some pit penalties there, and that's going to put a couple drivers, including the one playoff driver of Kevin Hash, in a really bad position here.
Absolutely, and if we can, once these guys get single file, we may have to go revisit a replay there and see if some guys maybe passed before the start-finish line, or even if they got a passing under yellow when they were pitting. I know that can get jumbled up sometimes. But we've got a race for the lead up front as the 11 is trying to come after the 81 of Todd Merkel. But who's going to lead this lap? Merkel's got to lead it to get those bonus points.
Yeah, Matt Quick just came out of nowhere there to jump towards the front here. I think at the line, I think he may have just grabbed the lead there. He's got a good push, though, from a 17 of Chad Wilkes. And we've been talking about Chad as well, one that's been kind of riding early on here. Looks like he might be kind of releasing the sandbags a little bit from that car. Again, he's going to be one of those playoff drivers wanting to get some laps led under his belt as well. I mean, I think if he can push this 11 of Matt Wagner to the front, this will definitely put him in a really good opportunity to do so.
And how scary is it when you're a playoff driver and you're riding at the back and then you see another guy up there leading laps and trying to lead the most? I think the 17's thinking, you can't be doing that. I'm going to have every point I need too. So look for some of these playoff guys to start picking up on that strategy that Merkel's trying to play and say, all right, I've got to now go lead the most laps, or at least lead one.
Yeah, so now you see everybody starting to jump around a little bit, trying to find position. You see Matt Wagner trying to pick up the toe of the 87 and the 03 car. And so actually this is going to say he's actually going to drop back with this. I was going to mention, say, Kevin Hash, it's going to be crucial for him right here. He's going to, I mean, him and Raymond Rittenauer, we know those two work extremely well together. But he's going to have to get to the front of this group here. He needs to be that car. If not the first car one down, ideally even the tail end of the lead lap in that 03 car. But right now just doesn't have the push he needs from that 87 car. So right now he's going to drop a little bit back, and saying that's going to put him in kind of an inopportune position here to say he needs to get back in position for this race to have a chance at it. Because right now you see Eric Laurie on the inside, that 071 is another one of those playoff contenders trapped a lap down right here.
And in my opinion, that 03 has got to get up there. I mean, you've probably seen me in some Area 51 races, plate races before, racing the lead pack stupid aggressively, trying to get up front. I think it was actually at this track one time that I did it. But it was just because if you have to get that wave around, you're going to be stuck behind every single car, including damaged ones if we have a big wreck, which can really kill your chances of keeping up with the pack and could result in you losing a lap again. It's crucial for him to try to get in front of that 81 of Merkel and have that caution come out to where he can be on the lead lap and pit with lead lap cars. That is going to be crucial for his playoff chances in this first race.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised he opted kind of just to drop in the back and just kind of cruise again. You see one finally jumping to the top side. It's going to be the 55, I believe that was. So actually, is he trapped a lap down as well? I'm looking at my list here. Oh, it's Dean Wilkinson. I'm sorry, no, Dean Wilkinson. He's in 4th position. I couldn't find him on my ticker there for a moment. He dropped up to the top there. Nothing happened, so he had to fall back in line. Now he peaks up again, but just nobody right now willing to kind of take that groove. So right now, again, we're kind of seeing everybody just kind of on cruise control again here. This as we're kind of just maybe about midway through the fuel run here. But Todd Merkel doing exactly what you were wanting him to do there, Maxwell. To say he's up front. He's got Bud Steele, seems pretty dedicated to pushing him, and so he is definitely clicking off laps led in that 81 car.
Make me think he might be tuned into Green White Checker TV as he's cruising around here, making me look smart tonight, even though I'm not one to race in these super speedways very often with Area 51. But just, yeah, absolutely, leading those laps. I mean, I don't think the fuel save is going to be that crucial, so he is really looking at just getting lap after lap of leading, hoping the pit cycle comes around where he's leading again, leading. His big thing is he's got a ton. He's got at least 5 non-playoff drivers behind him, which they have nothing else to do but win the race. So they should be completely content with just sitting here and pushing him, which is going to make a challenge from the outside be extremely difficult.
Yeah, exactly right. And saying you're right. I say between himself and the next playoff driver is actually now the 76 of Jim Brooks that's moved up a little bit. He's now up to the 7th position there, and so same thing though. Say he's in 7th position right now. We only have 2 playoff drivers in the top 10 as things run here. But the other thing to mention is going to be the fuel mileage. So Todd Merkel, Bud Steele, they did not pit under that on the caution flag, nor did the 29 of Nick Manfredi. So those guys are going to have to pit probably about 4 laps, maybe even 5 laps earlier than the lead pack here, than the other guys in the lead pack. I'm sorry. So that could cycle things out to Kyle Hess to lead this front group once pit stops start to happen.
Absolutely, and just as we see right now, just everybody kind of content. We're in the middle of the race. No reason to be racing super hard unless you're somebody like Kevin Ash, which I would be extremely frustrated right now, trying to get somebody to just say, push me, and get up there to the front. But maybe that's just my over-aggressiveness coming out there in these plate races. But, everybody else just content to ride here. There's nothing really to win here, but there's a whole lot to lose in the middle of the race. So everybody just kind of deciding they're right where they're at, kind of just playing the fuel game, and probably a lot of guys trying to maybe squeak out a certain fuel number with the way that caution laid out.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's the fuel number these guys are aiming for, because right now I'm looking at the kind of the lucky dog fight right now, and right now it's actually Craig Forsyth down the 27 car. He's the first car 1 lap down. He's got a buffer of the 48 of James Leopard between himself and that 071 of Eric Laurie, who's the second car 1 down, and then you got that 03 Kevin Hash, who now is jumping to the top side to see if maybe he's going to grab onto the back of the 87 Raymond Renner. But as soon as I say that, Raymond able to jump to the inside, now jumps back up top. So maybe now we're going to see that push towards the front from a couple of these guys to try to get to at least be the first car 1 down. If not, maybe at least trying to be maybe even get to the tail end of the lead lap.
Maybe they were just waiting on these guys to settle out a little bit to where it'd be a bit less dangerous. But we do see the 03 and the 87 trying to hook up together, trying to see if they can make that outside work. But I'm telling you right now, they're going to want some friends. They've only got 1 person behind them there. As we see another car is going to try to jump up, it's going to be a little late, and that's just going to kill the momentum of those two, the 87 and the 03. But now we start seeing some guys get side by side up front. Maybe they're not content with riding. Now they're making me look like I don't know what I'm talking about. So let's keep watching this awesome action here.
Yeah, and it was like, yeah, you're exactly right, Maxwell. As soon as one driver made the move, they all started moving around. So You see Raymond, he's actually moved back to the inside now behind the 76 of Jim Brooks. So I'm going to be watching. It's going to be Kevin Hash, see where Kevin lines in. He's going to fall back into the inside or not if he has the opportunity. But I think Craig Forsyth, I think he was playing defense there. I think he saw that second group was coming, some of those that need to get their lap back. And so Craig was thinking, like, I don't need to be on this inside line. I need to make sure that they don't get around me in case of a caution. So once he jumped up, we saw Dean Wilkinson go as well. So like I said, yeah, this whole cycle is really kind of jumbled up once that happened. So right now that top line is starting to make some momentum, though. So I think it's in Craig's best interest if he can try to push this middle line. But as I say that, here comes Raymond. He's going to try to run the top group for a moment. Falls back in line here, but that second group is really starting to form now.
Absolutely, and I don't think Raymond's going to have any luck in that third groove there. I just think it's too far away from everybody, and it's just such a long distance around. You're not going to make a lot of hay without a ton of cars with you. The two things I'm noticing here, I'm noticing that, as I thought about it, these non-playoff guys, what do they have to lose? Why don't they just come out here and race and have fun? If they get a win, they get a win, and if they don't, they don't. I mean, they have nothing to lose in points. If it were me, I'd be making the outside work all the time. Forget a fuel number. I'm here to have fun, and finish out these last 3 races. But then you've got some of these playoff guys that are a lap down trying to come through the field. And what if the thought process was truly this, Gail? What if they were truly thinking, I want to keep these playoff drivers a lap down to better my chances at winning this race if another caution comes out? Maybe they're pulled up in front of them to actually block that momentum and keep them from getting that lap back.
That's a really good point. It's definitely something that can't be understated because these guys are smart. They know exactly what's going on. They know it's on the line. Like I said, they might have maybe they might not be in the playoff themselves. Maybe one of their teammates is. So it's like, hey, if I keep this guy trapped the lap down, this is going to help my teammate there. So maybe it is like to say, actually, as I said, here comes it looks like Todd Merkel going to be rolling solo on the pit stop here. He's got to get it low down to speed before the cone. I think he just got there, but now he's going to have to try to make sure he has a quick pit stop here, Maxwell, because he's coming in on his own, so he's going to come out by himself as well. But if he gets a quick enough stop here, he should be able to cycle his way to the into the lead pack here after the pit stop cycle completes.
And that's just the dangerous thing of staying out all by yourself there. It's an early gain, but a long-term loss because he was probably hoping for another caution, maybe 10 laps in, that would bring everybody down pit road with him to help him keep that track position. But, we've seen crazier things before. We've seen him wreck off pit road, so Todd's still not out of it yet, but just something to watch to see how his strategy plays off as we see a couple other guys now pull off.
Yeah, I think that's going to be Bud Steele, Nick Monfretti. There's no way Nick made it down there. Oh, he's going to catch the inside wall a little bit as well. Too much rear brake on him. On his car, looked like in the 45 of Todd Siebels. So those are the guys that did not pit under that yellow, so they're all in now. Didn't even mention that 81 Todd Markle is exiting the pits now, but we've got a change up front here with everything going on right now. It's Dean Wilkinson in that 55 car leading the point here. But you see, though, you got a couple guys right on the tail end of this lead lap doing everything they can to stay in there, and that's going to be one of those is that 03 we mentioned of Kevin Hash. Raymond Rittenauer also in that boat, Craig Forsyth as well. So it's kind of a mixed bag of these drivers. Let's say you got a lot of cars that are either one down or at the tail end of a lap down in this lead battle right here.
For a minute there, I really thought they were going to make me look silly not wanting to pull that strategy, but maybe they were waiting closer to these pit stops here to position themselves up front. That way they can all be together on the pit stops and hopefully be able to retain that track position up front. Maybe that was all a play, just to save a little fuel, be able to pit with each other where pit road's less congested, and then be able to come out in front of those leaders once pit cycles are done and stay on the tail end of that lead lap for when a caution comes out. But look for these guys to probably be pitting in the next 2 laps, I believe, Dale.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I said so. Right now, Kyle Hess, our race leader in the 86 car, Matt Wagner behind him in second. Then you got Dean Wilkinson. So right now, those front 3 cars, like we talked about, their tail end of the lead lap, they're hoping for a caution here because then they get a free pass all the way around to compete with the leaders. But say right now, things still holding on the on the green frontier. See a few more jumping in there. It's going to be the 55 leading the way. It's going to be Dean Wilkinson. You see the 101 as well. That's Randy Miner. And then you got the 48 of James Ledford. So we got 3 drivers hitting pit road this time around. And so I do need to mention Todd Merkel did make his pit stop. I don't think he was able to catch the tail end of that draft, unfortunately. Doing what he can to try to minimize the time loss. But that's the concern about pitting by yourself in that 81 car. Just has not quite panned out for him. But actually, I think he is starting to catch the back of that lead pack. So I think he's going to be in actually a pretty good spot here once this all cycles through.
And hopefully that's the case for Todd's sake. I really do. When you have a really big track like this, it's so inviting to say, man, this place is huge. You know, this is a 3-mile oval, the biggest super speedway we race on right now. As we see leaders coming down pit road and seeing even the lap down guys and a couple locking up there.
Everybody's staggering. You see almost some contact between Jim and Raymond there. They all somehow avoid one another. Matt Quick's in that group as well. So yeah, so we got about 6-7 cars I think in this lead pack. A few more just a little bit further behind as well. So that's going to cycle things out. Saying actually I think this is going to complete the pit stop cycle. That's how tight the fuel window is for these guys. So we'll have to see where everything cycles through all together, because I see a few cars just now leaving the pits. Showing right now the first car out of the pits is going to be the 6 of Bud Steele. So we'll keep an eye and see where he is on track in relation to some of these guys. I'll say, because that's going to be the next fight, is of course is to get in and out of the pits as quick as possible to try to give yourself the best chance you have to kind of take control of this race here.
Absolutely, and I don't want to be that guy, Gael, but I noticed a couple drivers that kind of, as they came down pit road, they actually drove through tons of pit stalls to be able to get to their pit box, and I don't know how the admins are going to feel about that going into these playoffs, blocking some other drivers' visions on being able to get into their stall themselves. So something these drivers are going to have to watch as they go throughout the rest of this season, is they're going to have to watch their pit stops there and driving through those pit stalls. That's kind of a no-no here in Area 51.
Yeah, saying that's one of those. It's a tough balance, because obviously you don't want to hurt anybody else, but at the same time you don't want to have contact with another driver when you kind of have the chaos in the pits like we saw that last entry there. But right now I think it's still Bud Steele leading the way here, and I say he's got a big charge and he's got help from that 45 Todd Siebel, so he's actually going to use his momentum here. He's going to be able to swing around I think the 27 and the 03 of Craig Forsyth, Kevin Hashley. He's going to put these guys back one lap down here. And I say it's going to put Todd Siebel's in the 45 as that tail end of the lead lap car. So now again, we're going to have a whole new fight for these guys. As I say, once everybody kind of gets settled in here, we're going to have to kind of see what the fuel numbers are going to be looking like here. Because right now we got 36 to go. I mean, if we divide that in half, that would be 18 laps each way around. I don't know if anybody can stretch it 18 laps or not on fuel, but if someone can, this could be a one-stopper to the end if they can stretch that fuel number here.
The guys that pitted in the last group have the best shot to do that, because a one lap around here is going to completely kill that fuel strategy with just it being 3 miles of fuel you would have to try to save. But if these guys can just kind of calm it down and take it easy, especially the ones on the lead lap. Now, you've got these guys here trying to get their lap back. They have no choice but to run hard, and they may have to even splash and go at some point. As you see Kevin Hash trying to come around the outside and get in front of that 6 of Bud Steele. They're all fighting it out here to try to get that lead lap back, but you're going to have to watch. But one caution, Gael, one caution that this strategy can change everything with the fuel numbers and make everybody good to go.
Yeah, you're exactly right. So right now, say the groups are kind of separated a little bit. That's about to get a lot bigger here. Right now, the leaders in this group, I'll say there's only a couple of them actually. It's going to be obviously our leader Bud Steele, and then 2 cars behind him on the inside lines, the 86 Kyle Hess in that black and orange machine, and then in third is that 76 of Jim Brooks. He's just a few spots behind as well. So, but you see now the outside line starting to form. You see Matt Wagner, he's starting to join this mix. The 17 Chad Wilkes not too far behind as well. So I say we're about to have about 5-6 cars in that lead pack, and that's going to include Todd Merkel. We talked about him having to pit early. He was able to grab the toe of these guys, and he's starting to make a really good charge as well. So our lead pack's going to start getting a little larger here in just a few more laps.
If I'm Todd Merkel, I'm thankful that there's no other playoff driver leading laps, but at the same time, I still want to lead the most. And I think Bud Steele has actually led a few of those laps tonight, so I would be wanting to root him up out of the lead. Selfishly, probably, in my opinion, but it's as a competitor, that's what you got to do. I'd be rooting that 6 up out of that lead and trying to make sure I led every single lap I could.
Yeah, you see right there, Raymond Rara giving the biggest push he could to Kevin Hash. Kevin Hash able to squeeze to the inside. So that's going to put Kevin now on the tail in the lead lap as well. Raymond trying to do the same. He's going to have some help from Robbie Richards in the 12. I think Robbie's actually a couple laps down, so he's going to try to push himself from 2 down to 1 down. So I say right now, I mean, Bud's in a weird spot right here now. He's completely surrounded by cars that are a lap or more down here, either tail end lead lap or right behind him, that first car 1 lap down. So now you see the 86 Kyle Hess. He's going to jump up to the top here for that lead position here. So that's the first battle, I should say, for position up front here. I said Jim Brooks kind of holding steady in that 3rd spot. I think Jim right now, I think he's kind of going full fuel save in that 76 car. Like I said, I think he's in a really good spot. Him and Matt Wagner, I think they pitted the latest, and they're right now, I think they're running the low line, saving fuel, so I think they're looking really good here to maybe stretch that mileage out.
You got a big pack up front, but Guile, I've got my eyes on this pack that has kind of been about 5 seconds off the lead. You got some heavy hitters in this one. Kevin Freeze, Gabe Butler, Matt Quick, and some guys we know run competitively. Dale Wilby and James Ledford. They're a pack of 5 back here in the back, and they're just kind of chilling out. They're just hanging out here. And if I know anybody that runs with Gabe Butler and Kevin Freeze and Matt Quick, these guys know exactly what they're doing, so I wouldn't count them out just yet. They're kind of maintaining that 5 seconds off the pack. They might be saving a little bit of fuel here, and I would look for them to have a pit stop at the end that puts them way up in the front.
Yeah, I'm looking at their lap times right now, and I think they've definitely got they're turned up here. I say they're going because leaders, they ran a 45.4 up front. This group here, they're in the 44.6. It's almost 0.8 of a second, 8 seconds a tenth, or 0.8 of a second a lap faster the last time by. So you see Kevin Freeze, he is just pushing Dale Wilby for all he's worth right now. So I think these guys are really going after. They want to get that gap down before the next set of pit stops here. So I think aggression definitely has stepped up for these guys to close that gap down.
And I really don't know if it's aggression as much as it is this lead pack is all side by side drafting each other, making moves on each other. And with all that side drafting and all that shaking up, that's going to cause these cars to really slow each other down at times. So maybe them being in a single file versus these guys up front running side by side could be making a big difference here.
Oh,
yeah.
I
will say this pack up front should be able to save fuel a whole lot easier. And I'm looking at that 17 to Chad Wilkes just kind of hanging out. Todd Merkel hanging out at the end of that lead pack. We know Merkel needs to save a little bit of fuel because he's obviously not going to be able to make the fuel number some of these other guys are. He's needing the caution desperately. But someone like that 17 or that 071, this could be their night, sitting here just chilling out and riding.
Yeah, exactly right. So there's so many strategies here. Obviously, you got, again, those guys trying to be on the tail end of the lead lap. Those trying to fight to make sure they're at least the first car one down. Other drivers trying to get maybe one of their 2 laps down back. And so there's just so many things going on right now. So you see Jim's actually been able to cycle up to the back of the 6 of Bud Steele. That's going to put him in the 2nd place overall. Matt Wagner working over trying to get that 3rd position here. And so, I mean, right now, let's say, but I feel like these guys on the inside line, you can save so much fuel where these guys are at right now. So I think they're in a really good position. Like I said, the ones I'm watching are those ones that pitted last and are in this lead pack. So it's going to be the Kyle Hess, the Jim Brooks, the Matt Wagners, Chad Wilkes as well. So I think those 4 or 5 drivers, I think they're in a really good spot. If they can kind of keep stretching this fuel mileage, like I said, if it stays green, I think they could maybe one-stop this thing to the end.
Now, my question I have for you, Gael, because I wasn't able to focus on this too much, was that group with Gabe Butler and Kevin Freeze, were they some of the last ones to pit as well? Did they even go an extra lap farther, or were they some of the early ones to pit? Do you remember?
I think they also pitted the same lap as that group with Jim and company here. And actually, speaking of them, I believe they are in this pack already. I say we were talking about them being so far behind. So let's jump back to that group. And yeah, there they are. They have caught that group. You see Dale Willoughby still leading that pack. But they are in that group. I say they ran a 44.12 the last time by compared to the 45.1. So again, almost a full second quicker. But so now they're able to get here. The question is, do they take the momentum? Do they go to the front, or do they need to try to recover some of that fuel they lost? But I'm seeing some momentum shifts, and I see that 7 jumping to the top here. So I think they're going to try to take this momentum all the way to the front here.
Yeah, I'm curious if our calculations here in the booth are correct, man. It's going to be so tight on fuel to make this a one-stopper or 2. And if you have to come down this track for a splash and go, that pit road is so long. You're really going to throw your race away to the stop and go. So let's hope these guys have enough fuel to make it in one stop after running this big pack now.
Yeah, so I did mention that last time around. Dale Willoughby 43.474. Over a second faster than the lead pack there. So say they drafted well. They got to the tail end of the draft. I mean, they just moved. And so, I mean, you see they've actually worked themselves up near the top 5 already just from that one lap that they've been in this lead pack here. So like you said, though, they're all doubled up again. Now you see Raymond Rittenauer. He's kind of leading the inside line. You got the 86 Kyle Hess leading the outside line. This is the battle again for that lucky dog position. If that 86 car, if he gets around these guys, he's going to have these guys all trapped a lap down again. So that 03 to 87, they're going to have to push extremely hard to keep that 86 behind them.
And I really think these 2 playoff contenders of the 87 and the 03, they're really in a tight box here. They need a caution, and they need it now. Luckily, the way these guys are racing, it almost looks like a caution could come out at any minute. I'm seeing guys really get shoved up to that third lane and just a lot of movement now that this whole pack is big again. But, man, they just need a lucky break here to try to get them back in contention, or they're going to have a really tight week next week trying to make that top 4. But, man, we've got all kinds of different storylines and different action going on all across this track. And now that group caught the field, notice they're all kind of lining up single file on the bottom, probably preparing for these next pit stops, which are going to be oh so crucial. Who can make it to that money lap to make it to the end of one stop?
Yeah, so like I said, if they can, it's going to be extremely tight. So I think everybody's going full fuel save at this point. Some of these drivers are on lap number 16 of their run. Todd Merkel, we talked about him. He's already on lap 17 of his run. So that 81 car probably going to be the first of those to have to make a pit stop. Actually, and as I said, here they come. You've got the 7, you got the 071, the 81, the 25. I think the 89's in there as well. So what these guys are doing, I think, here is they're going to pit now, and then they're going to basically, like I said, they're going to probably split this up a little bit where they just have that little splash to go at the end because they're coming around here, 24 to go. We know that's outside the window. So yeah, so it's going to be a good strategy here. Same for Todd Merkel, this is huge because he's at least able to now pit with a group of cars here.
This has to be a strategy that they think nobody can make it on one more stop. That has to be their goal there. And if that is the case and nobody else in the field can make it on just one stop, then they're probably in the catbird seat because they're going to have all the momentum they need right here.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see. Right now we're going to come around here, 23 to go at the line. A few more in the pits here. Bud Steele hitting the pit road in that number 6 machine. He's leading a few drivers there. He's got the 55, Dean Wilkinson, the 101, Randy Miner. So just the 3 of them. And say some of these guys pitting really early, actually. So I think, again, this is kind of a strategy call. And so this is where this all kind of comes into play because you'll see the leaders. They're going to come around and lap these guys that just made that pit stop just due to the sheer speed of this track. So now the question is going to be, do these guys react to them or do they try to stretch this fuel out and try to maybe pin these guys a lap down in case of a caution again?
I'd love to see some of these guys in the lead pack try to just run single file and not even worry about the pace these other guys are going to have. They're going hard. We know that. But if you can make it to that money lap of 18 or 17 to go, I truly think you can save enough fuel to make this a one-stop race. And that could be the difference in a win and not. And I'm not for sure about the playoff system. I haven't kind of checked into it. Is it actually where if you win a race, you're automatically locked into the top 4? Or is it just the best of points?
Oh, and as I said, there's a caution. I saw this driver spin on the pit exit there. I think that was the 6 of Bud Steele. I think we saw the exact same thing a little bit earlier. And you're right, I think Bud Steele looped it around there. So that's going to shake everything up here. Let's go back and take a look. So you see the 6 exiting the pits there at the 071 Eric Laurie. Again, everybody's just trying to get everything they can here on these exits. And so unfortunately, sometimes it bites you a little bit. So we'll watch Bud as he comes into turn number 1. And yeah, almost exactly the same thing. Just steps around him. You can see he tries to lock it down, tries to keep it pointing in the right direction. But unfortunately, just slows it down a little bit too much. And I say that's going to, I believe that's what caused this caution here. So it's going to bring the yellow out here. And this is going to be intriguing because I'd say we're cautions out here. We're at 20 to go, so we'll jump back live here.
If I'm the leaders, I pit, and then I pit with 1 to go, and that should put us restarting with about 17 laps left. This could be their one-stop race they were looking for. But do the guys behind them also pit and give these guys just the lead, or do they stay out at a risk that these guys still can't make it? This is going to be very intriguing on who pits and who doesn't. This is a game-changing caution, and who's to say this would even be the last one?
Yeah, so you see, it looks like a few drivers trapped behind the pace car here. I think they're trying to everybody's trying to get sorted here because I say cautions when the cautions during pit stop cycle really shakes things up. And it looks like some of the drivers that just were able to stay ahead of the leader by the time the yellow came out are going to be Raymond Rittenauer, Kevin Hash, Craig Forsyth. It looks like they just were able to stay ahead to stay on that lead lap here most crucially. So I think it's going to leave us 9 on the lead lap. But you're right, though. I mean, those that pitted early and then got caught up by this caution here, they got to stay out here, Maxwell. But the problem is for that is they're going to they won't be able to make it to the end either. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting.
I think everybody pits if you want to make it to the end. That is my call, unless these guys think they can save it. And it looks like some of them are staying out. So let's see how this shakes out.
Yeah, so I think, I'm trying to see who is going to be the first of those that does stay out. I say all of our leaders are definitely in here. But I'd say the problem is those that got the wave around here, or that are staying out, I should say, to take the wave around here. Right now we're going to have a bunch of cars on the tail end of the lead lap. They're going to have to wave around. They won't be able to pit just due to the way that system works. So say we'll keep an eye on the pit stops here, because this could also be another crucial pit stop for some of these guys. Maybe try to get a lap lead. But it looks like Kyle Hess is going to win that race off of pit road, so he's going to hang on to the lead here.
I didn't even think about that. Some of those guys actually were trapped a lap down that had pitted, wasn't they? So they had to take that wave around.
Oh, yeah, we've got a lot of cars trapped right now, so we'll jump up to the front. I think Dale Willoughby, actually looks like Dale Willoughby, he was the lucky dog, so he gets his lap back, so he's crucially going to be able to get a pit stop in. Doesn't have to worry about that, but then we jump a little bit further back here. I believe it's going to be Matt Quick, Gabe Butler, Kevin Freeze. I think those are going to be the first cars trapped one down here. And I mean, those are right there. You got 3 playoff contenders. Todd Merkel actually in there. So 4 playoff contenders all right there, trapped to one down. So they're all going to have to take this wave around. Right now I'm showing, let's see, I think 7 or 8 cars on the tail end of this lead lap that are going to wave around to get back onto the lead lap here.
And if that's the case, if I am a lead lap front runner that just pitted, I am topping the fuel cell off and I am coasting coming out of the pits, catching that pace car. I am saving, shutting off. I'm getting every drop of fuel out of that thing I possibly can, and I'm taking that whole last run until about 4 to go of just fuel save, because I really think they can stretch it. It's going to be a stretch, but I think if they stretch it, then this whole race complexion has changed, and we may even have a surprise winner tonight. We could see Jim Brooks and victory lane, or Chad Wilkes. Those 2 guys were able to stay out for that, so what a great job for them.
Yeah, and surprisingly, actually, leaders do not pit here like I thought they would. You see Kyle Hess, Jim Brooks, they're both staying out, and I thought they would come in. Matt Wagner stays out as well. So the first of the playoff drivers that is going to top off is going to be that 17 of Chad Wilkes, just like you mentioned there, Maxwell. Also, James Ledford, Randy Miner, they are topping off as well. And I honestly, yeah, I think that's a missed opportunity, because these guys are going to be able to top off, and then they're still going to restart right towards the front of this pack here. So yeah, I think that's unfortunate. I think a bit of a missed opportunity for those top 3 that opted to stay out here.
Unless they think they can just save enough out here under green. But I think that this is a 3-mile oval. I can't emphasize that enough. 3 miles is a lot in a stock car. So to be able to get that, pit stop in is crucial. That's 3 miles of fuel they won't have to worry about saving. Whereas some of these other guys I don't see the 76 and the 86. I don't see the 11. I don't see these guys that stayed out being able to make it to the end if we go green. Maybe they're banking on another caution where they can stay out and keep saving and keep their track position. But with as easy as it is to pass in these cars and the big runs you get, I don't see why they couldn't have just pitted and been a little more secure here. So I'm really looking at the 17 and really some of those guys that got lucky there with the caution. The 87, the 03, did they stop in and top off since they were already at the back and now back on the lead lap?
Yeah, I think they did.
Prime position to win.
Yeah, I'm looking at the pit stop cycles, and so the ones that took the wave around, they could not pit. But you're right though, like the Kevin Hash, he topped off. I see on our little timing and scoring here. So Kevin Hash in a really good position as well. So yeah, I'm going to throw a giant wrench into this as well, Maxwell. I mean, if we get a caution that puts us into green-white checkered territory, then I mean, I think at that point nobody's going to be able to make it to the end. So it's going to be a lot to keep an eye on. I say we're going to restart here. 18 to go. I say could be a fuel mileage race, could not. We'll have to wait and see. As you see, the 86 Kyle Hess gets a nice jump on this restart.
Absolutely, and something to watch under that caution. Maybe it'll clear up. I'm seeing that 29 car kind of blinking really badly right now. That could be an admin having to tell him EOL on that, because he's lagging back like 7, 8, 10 car lengths. So that he looks like he's trying to stay out of the way, but definitely blinking out there. Bad for him. But look at Robbie Richards trying to go ahead and jump on the outside and pick up some positions real quick on this restart.
Yeah, so this is, I think, Robbie going kind of full aggression, try to see if he can get himself, again, he's trying to get a couple of those laps back. He's 2 down, wants to get back to 1 down. And actually right now we have no drivers 1 lap down. We have just everybody's either 2 or more down. So Robbie right now the first of those to be 2 down. So we'll see if he maybe tries to push to to get that position back. But I mean, look at Craig Forsyth. Again, he was one of those drivers that had to take the wave around to get back on the lead lap here. And he's now sitting in that 4th position. Chad Wilkes, as I said, we mentioned him. I think Chad playing the fuel game here. Like I said, if this thing goes green to the end, I think that 17 car, like you mentioned, I think he is in the catbird seat, no question.
Absolutely, and kind of a question I got in my mind right now as we're coming around to be about 15 to go. Who you got your guy eyes on, Gael? Because I'm telling you, I think some guys I'm picking here are not up front right now. I'm looking at that 17. I'm looking at that 03, and even possibly that 87, a non-playoff driver maybe schooling the party here tonight. Who you got your eyes on as we kind of come to the end of this race?
So, like I said, I'm thinking on the field numbers. Let's say I'm agreeing with you on the 17 and the 03. I think, let's say they topped off and they're playoff contenders. I think they're going to be in a really good position. But you have to wonder, I mean, with Matt Wagner, Jim Brooks, so saying actually now Matt's going to lead the way here. They did not top off. Either they're feeling confident about their fuel mileage, or they don't think anybody's going to be able to stretch it that far, possibly. But I mean, you like where they are, but like you said, you can definitely make passes here early, but it definitely doesn't hurt to have that nice track position here. So, but as I say that, though, here comes that outside line. They are forming, and they're forming strong.
I think that 86 is in full-fledged fuel save. I think he dropped back, and he's letting that outside lane get a huge run on him, and he's just trying to coast. I don't know that this 11, the 76, or the 86, I think they're too far up front to be saving. I like where Chad Wilkes is at, a couple lanes in. And, ooh, we got some guys pitting now. We're going to try to do that short pit strategy, just top it off. Here we go. It's got some on pit road now.
Yeah, you're right. You got Dale Willoughby leading the way. You got Kevin Freeze, Gabe Butler. So they're going off strategy. They knew they couldn't make it, so they went ahead and they opted to top off here. Interestingly enough, though, Dale was one of those that did top off under that caution flag. So, I'm sorry, he did not top off, but he did pit. Oh, overshoots the stall just a little bit there. But what this does do is, I believe this is going to be a short enough pit stop. Still doesn't get in his pit box. This is going to really hurt the 7 car. But what this should do, though, is as long as they can get hooked up together decently, looks like they'll be the 25 and the 1 cars. I don't think they should be. I think they'll be able to stay on the lead lap, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. So, yeah, that's going to be our first strategy call. Some of these guys are going to pit early here. We'll see again with our leaders. Does anybody else? Yep, here comes Matt Quick. He's going to do the same as well, the 03 of Kevin Hash. So, again, Kevin Hash is one that did top off. So, based on that, Maxwell, I got to think that, yeah, nobody thinks they can make it to the end here.
And I'm really shocked by that. I still like this strategy of the 17, hanging out at the back, not touching that accelerator very much, just trying to ride it out. I don't know. This is kind of a go big or go home race here. I mean, if you're a playoff driver, I'd be nerve-wracked right now with that much money on the line for this championship. And just for the title itself, to know that you're coming down the first race of a fuel strategy and at one of the biggest tracks we go to here. But I'm real interested in that call of the 03. I don't know, maybe if he's just trying to keep with teammates for the overall. Oh, here comes the 17 now. I'm going to bail out.
Yeah, you're right. Chad Wilkes to say we were all picking him as the one to try to maybe do something different and stretch it all the way. But, I mean, if Chad's pitting and we saw how much he was riding, I think at that point that kind of tells us nobody's going to be able to make it to the end on fuel here. So it's going to be very intriguing to see. So right now, say he's going to hit the pits here. We're at 13 to go. Let's say lead battle is definitely on right now. You see Randy Miner, he's pushing that 20 of Alberto Lopez to the front, but in doing so, this is actually putting that 101 here to the front of the race here in that Navy Ford Mustang. You see, as at the same time, they were trying to work around some of these cars that had just made that pit stop as well.
And I'd be watching for that 17 as I kind of glanced over at the screen. I saw a huge lockup, and it was locked up, smoking past the cone. So kind of something to watch. And we even got a couple more drivers kind of bailing out. But I'm shocked they're bailing out one at a time, Gael. I don't understand the strategy there of why they wouldn't just come as a group. So that first little batch that pitted, I think they're huge. But if a caution comes out and they stay a lap down, then these guys up front look like geniuses, and they're kind of looking like they're going to create a caution here as they're looking 3 and 4 wide.
It is getting dicey and in a big way, and yeah, unfortunately, Chad Wilkes, you were right. He is still in the pit, so definitely got that stop and hold, so that really hurts him. That's going to trap him a lap or possibly even more down in the 17 car. So it puts him in a very bad position. Right now, we've got a big fight, though, still. Randy Miner in that Navy machine. He's our race leader, but again, surrounded by drivers trying to save some fuel or trying to get back in the lead lap as well. So he's in a really awkward position here. As you see, the 010 of Corey Lane, he hits the pits. Like you said, though, they're all kind of pitting one at a time. Like you said, there's no real groups that we talked about. I just wonder if these guys are afraid of pitting in a big group and getting some damage or something along those lines. So right now, Randy Miner still... Actually, no, as I say that, James Ledford on the inside line in the 48 car, he's taking the point in that number 48 Lowe's machine. So you can see, again, though, there's a big fight of who's going to be the one to lead this way. And, yeah, I mean, at this point, I have to just assume that nobody thinks that they can stretch this thing on fuel. Although, as I say that, you see, when you're talking about Jim Brooks and company, they've really lagged back here. So just based on that, you kind of wonder if they're either trying to save fuel or just maybe trying to stay away from this big 3-wide battle that we've got going on.
And strategy wise, here's what I think: if you didn't pit the first lap or two, then I would have just stayed out banking on a caution. I really would have. That way, if one caution came out, we've already seen 2 yellows. Who's to say we wouldn't have seen a third here this late in the game? But we've just got a handful of laps left, and we've still got most of the field out here. And we know that if some of those guys that topped off still couldn't make it, then we know these guys up front are going to have an even longer pit stop. These guys pitting one at a time. Man, as these cars stay more and more in a pack, then they're getting the advantage of making what? Almost probably a second or so a lap on these guys that pitted by themselves. So, I mean, this is huge implications here unless they were able to get back in the pack and kind of hold on to the lead draft.
Yeah, and right now you see everybody's really starting to cycle around, trying to kind of get to that tail end lead lap position. Right now you see the 7 Dale Willoughby, Kevin Hash, and then the 071 Eric Laurie. They're trying to get their laps back as well. But say Dean Wilkinson, or sorry, the 101 of Randy Miner, apologize. He's doing a really good job. He's staying with some of these guys that are making those big moves to the front now, like the 25 and the 1 car. They're on the tail end of the lead lap, but he's able to kind of tag along with them. And he's doing a really good job with that, keeping up there. So to say right now we still got, it looks like about 7 cars like right in this lead pack here. We got a couple right on the tail end of the lead lap. But say on the fuel side of things, do you need to mention Randy Miner, James Ledford? Those are 2 drivers that did top off as well on that 1 to go. So they could, I say, maybe they're still going to try the strategy out as well to try to stretch it as far as they can. And some of those guys that topped off and still pitted here under green, that leads me to believe that drivers like Jim Brooks, Matt Wagner, I just don't think they have any chance of doing so. If some of these guys are kind of the best strategy drivers out here, if they're all jumping in under green, that leads me to believe that nobody's going to be able to make it under green.
Here we see the 17 finally coming to get what? Maybe he went 2 laps down now after that penalty.
Yep.
So he's probably out of it at this point, and it's no bias here. That's one of my teammates in the Cup Series, so it's kind of sad to see him struggling here tonight. And I know he had a good run, but there's a gaggle of cars right here at the back that kind of did that early pitting strategy that's at the tail end of this pack. It's a lap down, and they are duking it out for position back here behind them because they have enough fuel now. They can be aggressive all the way to the end.
Yeah, I think that's what Randy Miner's kind of clicked onto. He's like, hey, I can just cruise behind these 2. We know how fast they are, Kevin Freeze, Gabe Butler. So I'll say Randy Miner, he's just going to cruise on the back of these guys and say as long as he holds their draft, he's going to be in a really good position. So he's got plenty of cars trapped a lap down. Like I said, Matt Quick is right now showing actually Matt Quick the first of those 1 down in the 89 car. He's trying to work the outside groove now. He's got the 03 of Kevin Hash. You see that 17 of Chad Wilkes you just mentioned. He's up there now as well. So they've got a pretty stout group now running this middle line. So I'll be curious to see if they can kind of make this charge happen here. So right now we're on 7 to go. Coming to the line, we're going to be 6 laps to go here at iRacing Superspeedway. Some of these guys might be trying to stretch this fuel out to the absolute limit before they come in, maybe take that little bit of a splash to the end. We kind of had mixed strategies of pitting early versus pitting late, and I'll say right now, it's kind of all up in the air, really.
Absolutely, and we see it's just interesting as these laps click off. We're coming to 5 to go, and we've just got so many different strategies. Guys up front trying to save every last drop they can, or waiting on a caution. We got the guys in the back 2 and 3 wide duking it out. Throw everything I said earlier out the window. I have no idea who's going to win this race.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I said I had the guys I was picking, and saying all those guys ducked into the pits, and unfortunately, we mentioned one of them got the penalty. Here comes Todd Merkel. He's going to jump into the pits, so he's going to be one of those, again, just pitting on his own in the 81 car, locking it down, trying to get down to speed. I think he did a good job of getting it down to speed. Those tires are not going to be happy about that, though. But I think at this point, he's going to have to let those tires live with it because we've got 5 to go here. There's no sense taking tires at this late in the race here, so I'll say Todd Merkel, his goal is going to have to be getting a quick in and out lap here. And those that are on the tail end of the lead lap, I mean, if everybody does have to pit like we think they do here, that could actually still put Kevin Freeze and Gabe Butler in actually a really good position here as, again, those 2 are on the tail end of this lead lap.
Wouldn't that make them look like geniuses? Don't forget about Kevin Hash back here. Don't forget about Matt Quick. They're only 1 lap down. But I guess we do have Kevin and Gabe right there on the tail end. So that could be the catbird seat for them. But you would also be given the 03 and the 89, their laps back as well, and I don't think they're really that far behind those 2. So I think it would be a race between them 4. And like I said at the beginning of the race, watch that 03, watch that 1, watch that 25. Those guys may have played just the perfect strategy, as they always do in this Superspeedway series.
Yeah, you saw right there Todd Merkel getting past there as he leaves the pits. So One thing I am noticing too, you look back at, I'm looking at the 11 of Matt Wagner. Look at the gap that he's got between these guys in front and behind. I mean, to me, that just screams fuel savings. I feel like he's just trying to roll out of the throttle, just trying to save as much fuel as humanly possible. Jim Brooks right there as well with him, the 86. We mentioned him also in there. It looks like I see two drivers hitting the pits now. I think that was the 12 of Robbie Richards I had just seen. And then the 87 of Raymond Rittenauer. They both hit pit road here. 3 to go. At this point, I mean, if these guys aren't going to be able to make it, I mean, these guys are being pitting here either, what, 2 to go or possibly taking the white flag. We might see a pit stop possibly.
Who's going to decide to risk it all in a playoff race and start sputtering on the backstretch of the last lap? Can they sputter enough and keep the momentum up to actually cross the line first? You know, these guys would still have a whole 3 miles to try to catch back up to them. And they've been in a pack drafting. Maybe it's been enough. Maybe our calculations were wrong. Who knows? We're going to have to stay tuned in these last 2 laps. And a bunch of them kind of ducking down.
Yep, here comes a handful of drivers in. Jim Brooks as well. Oh, Matt Wagner with a huge pit entry. Don't think he got down to speed at all. I suspect we're going to see a pit penalty for him in the 11 car. Jim Brooks is in that group. He was going to be the one I was going to mention. Maybe he tries to stretch it on fuel, but he's going to make his final pit stop right now. So like you said, the drivers that could come out looking like geniuses, though, could be these two right here. That 25 of Kevin Freeze, the one of Gabe Butler. They stayed on that tail end lead lap. They were able to avoid any potential trouble if a caution came out. But right now, say this is putting a bunch of cars back into the mix because you said Kevin Hash, he's right there as well in that 03 car. So it's going to be all about the in and out lap of some of these drivers on their pit stops. And it looks like Matt Wagner, the only one still in the pits with that stop and hold. So now it's going to be all about this pit exit coming out of turn number 1 and 2. And so right now I believe it's going to be, I think Randy Miner actually might be still showing as our leader as he's just now exiting the pits here in that 101 machine. Craig Forsyth there in second, Jim Brooks in third. So now it's just going to be, can they get up to speed before these guys behind them with that huge head of steam get to them?
Positive. It looks like Jim Brooks is going to pull on track, but it's not going to be enough. I think these guys are going to be able to take that momentum and get around them. But can they get a quick run, you know, with 1 lap to go and kind of slingshot by? We're going to have to see.
Yep, I'm saying that's the lead change right there. Kevin Freeze now in the point. He's got the number 1 and Gabe Butler right behind him. Matt Quick is in that in the 4th car in line, but 3rd position. Get the 03 of Kevin Hash actually getting pushed a little bit down to the apron. As you see Matt Quick, he's jumped to the top here. So they're going to try to go through. We are in a final lap, so from here we are racing it out to the end. But right now, Kevin Freeze, Gabe Butler leading the way. Kevin Hash, Matt Quick, they're fighting for that 3rd position. Almost contact between the two of them entering turn number 1.
I don't know that Kevin Hash got kind of side drafted and kind of slowed up here, or did he lay back to get a big run? He's got the 6 on his back bumper. I'm watching the 03, I'm watching the 25, and I'm watching the 1 to make a move here and try to get himself locked into that final 4.
Yeah, and say while they're doing that, they're having to jump around some traffic again, still trying to get out of the pits here. But out of 4, Kevin Freeze still has the lead. Right now, Gabe Butler pretty locked onto him. We'll see if he makes a late charge to the top side or not. But it looks like they're going to stay locked on together. Kevin Freeze going to get the win. We didn't talk about him much tonight, but he gets the most important lap there at the end. Gabe Butler going to grab 2nd. Kevin Hash in 3rd. Matt Quick is going to finish in 4th. We were worried about that early pit strategy that they did there, Maxwell, but I mean, it worked out perfectly in the end.
And let's look at something here. What did we call at the very beginning of the race? Who are these guys hanging out at the back just relaxing and chilling? Kevin Freeze, Gabe Butler, Kevin Hash, and Matt Quick, all top 4, all playoff drivers. They hung out. They didn't race up front with everybody else. They wasn't up there with Merkel. They wasn't up there with Wilkes. They were just hanging out. They pulled off the perfect pit strategy in a precarious pitting environment with, you know, almost being able to make it. Took the risk early, and it paid off. And it's got the 25 as the big winner tonight with Kevin Freeze.
Yeah, that was a wild one there. Honestly, like you said, couldn't keep up with who was going to do what on the pit strategies there. But yeah, it's like Kevin Freeze coming out on top. Just the dedication. We saw Gabe Butler just completely committed to him there at the end. Just the teamwork that those guys have, and then Kevin Hash bringing it home in 3rd. So just a great job by all of them. So as we watch Kevin Freeze going to celebrate that win here tonight at iRacing Superspeedway.
Burning it down, that really helps him get prepared for that final 4. When I guess, did you say they're racing it out at Talladega in the last race? That'll make it super exciting.
Exactly right. So yeah, next week we'll be at Daytona. That'll be bring the field from 8 to 4, and then the finale of the Final Four at Talladega. So I think that's about the perfect way to do it. So I think Talladega's kind of the happy medium, if you will, nice and wide, a little bit maybe easier to tame than iRacing Superspeedway, a little bit slower speeds. But say when you're at a place like Daytona, it's tough to get that third line going on. So yeah, I think Kevin Freeze gonna be looking forward to these next two. And like I said, we'll have to double check on the locking in or not. I want to say they did lock in the winners, but I'll be definitely doing some questioning to the powers that be after tonight's race.
Absolutely, and if that is the case, then this makes Kevin feel so much better going to Daytona, knowing that he can just learn and kind of play with different moves he'd want to pull and everything he can. Because I have a funny feeling that at Talladega, you're going to have to win to get that driver's championship. Something else to focus on tonight, which I don't really know because I haven't watched much. I have only been in the booth twice this season with you guys, but this team championship, how did the teammates fare out this race, and how does that team championship start playing out? That'll be something to look at after this is all said and done tonight, and start preparing the next 2 weeks for that team championship too.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So it's going to be a lot to keep an eye on for sure. So we're going to start off, though, with our third place finisher. It's going to be that 0-3 of Kevin Hash. So we'll drag Kevin on in here and get his thoughts on the race. Because, I mean, for us, Kevin, I mean, Max and I, we had no idea what was going to be going on tonight. I mean, it seemed like everybody had different strategies all over the place. I mean, at some points, we thought you guys were just in the worst position possible. They're going to get trapped a lap down. Off cycle on the pit cycles and everything like that. But then you guys make that last call. You opt to duck in early. Basically, once you're in your window, you duck in there. Had to fight hard, obviously, to either be the first car lap down or on the tail end of the lead lap. I mean, how stressful were those final laps until all the pit stops finished up?
Final lap, shoot, I had a stressful race the whole race. Unfortunately, I think we topped off in the first caution, and Ray was catching the field a little bit too quick there toward the end, and right when he was giving it back so he didn't get a black flag, me and him both ended up getting black flags, so we had to pit and we're trapped a lap down, had to kind of just bully the leaders to stay up there in the best position we could be in. And I don't know, I felt like I did that the whole race, just trying to stay one of the first cars in front of the leader as a lap down. But yeah, it's definitely a lot of last minute strategy calls, some rough around the edges ideas that we had there, and luckily it all worked out. And yeah, I'm definitely glad it ended up turning out. I didn't think I was going to have a run to win the race, but main goal was try to get up there and help teammates best I could, and ended up getting third. I'm definitely tickled with that, considering how long I felt like I spent a lap down in this race.
Yeah, no, it was. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it was a lot of you guys. I mean, so you were there. Obviously, Kevin and Gabe at the end. They were kind of on that tail end of the lead lap, having to push hard to stay in that position. And I mean, we thought somebody was going to stretch it on the field. We felt like someone was going to have to take that gamble and maybe make it to the end. But the ones we were watching, I mean, we were watching Chad Wilson 17. Max and I were saying, okay, he's going to be the one. He's going to pull that field number out of the hat. He's going to try to make it happen, but then we saw him duck off, and as soon as that happened, we're kind of all, okay, this probably isn't going to be happening. Then if he's ducking out early with one of the ones that topped off, it didn't seem like it was going to happen. Was there anybody that you thought was maybe? Did you think someone was going to try to stretch it to the end, or did you all feel like there's just no way that they could make that number?
Well, I mean, I myself stopping and topping off on the previous caution, and I thought I was good, and then I started looking at fuel numbers there, and I realized that the pace I was running that was showing me good, there's no way you were going to be able to run that and keep that as the average throughout the entire run. We knew for a fact we knew for pretty much a fact if I was going to be one whole lap short, everybody was at least in that same boat, even if they were clutching, cutting the car off. You can't really do that here, but anything they could try, we knew if worse came to worse, we'd still be able to pass them prior to the finish. So that was the main goal, was making sure we could keep the momentum up, get as many of us together as we could, try to be where the lead pack was, and just try to keep it rolling, keep as much speed in it as we could. And luckily it worked out, and we all managed to, all four of us pulling off top fours. That's pretty cool. Hate it for the rest of them having issues throughout the night, but yeah, we definitely think we had them covered on strategy there at the end.
Yeah, so I know, Max, I know you've got, Kevin obviously gets to sponsor one of your teammates on the Thursday side, so I don't know if you have anything you want to quiz Kevin on here.
Absolutely. I like to give Kevin a hard time outside of the racing here. We always kind of talk after the cup races on Thursday nights and kind of banter back and forth. But Kevin, man, I gotta know how did how did you guys pull that strategy off at the end? Because we saw so many cars trying to pit one off by themselves. So we had that group of 2 or 3 of y'all that kind of pitted together, and then we had everybody else just one car, and then maybe 2 laps later, one car would pull off. A couple laps later, one car. Like, how did y'all know so early on that it was crucial to pit right at the start of the run instead of maybe staying out and hoping there was a caution to get you to the end?
Just the fact we all trust each other as much as we did. We knew that if we were banking on it just being us kind of in our own solo group, and then luckily we had other cars too, but just how much we practice, how much we know we can trust each other, keep the speed up, and run what we need to run in the race, kind of manage what lap times the Packers running every single lap. And then we also know how much fuel they have to be using running that fast, even if they're in the middle of the pack, and just kind of estimating on the fly, just doing math the whole time. Like, you're almost paying more attention to what's going on for everyone else's race strategy compared to your own, and also trying to drive at 250 mile an hour around here. It gets a little monotonous, but yeah, we knew that if we were roughly close together, me and Quick ended up accidentally going one more lap than Gabe and Freeze. We had a bit of a miscommunication on our end, me and Quick did, and we didn't get set, so we just came in the next lap, tried to get as close to them as we could. They had a little bit better track position, and we just knew we had to fight to stay ahead of the leaders in case that the untimely caution would happen. So just really just hopes, really, but there was a lot of math behind it too. So luckily, a couple of these guys are better at math than I am. I trusted them a lot more than my own numbers, but we was all coming back to the same figures.
Absolutely. You kind of scared me a little bit there. Me and Gael were talking when you in the 87 were a lap down. I was like, oh, they're going to push. And then y'all just kind of rode for like 10 laps. And I'm like, what's he doing? He's got to get that lead lap back. But y'all finally were able to pull that off, catch that lucky break. So just for me here, it was awesome to watch your recovery, watch you come back through the field. And it was just exciting to see you drive that 03 car to a beautiful third place finish and keep yourself in the hunt for that top 4 going into Daytona. Great job, Kevin.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, it was definitely a very stressful race. I managed to stay calm. I know I preach it the most to myself, especially during any longer race, that just do not compound injuries. Just manage what you got, take care of what you got, and don't try overforcing it. Just watch what, like me and Ray, we watched to make sure we could get a clean enough lane to get up to the front. Then when we got it, brought Craig with us. That way we had another car that we knew was going to be pushing just as hard as us to stay in front of the leaders, and just trying to play chess, just best that we could.
No, you guys definitely did an awesome job. Like I said, it was definitely stressful to say we were trying to keep up with who was doing what and who was where, and there was just, like I said, there was so much going on throughout the race. But so you guys, when it counted, you guys did exactly what you do best, able to pull off the top 3 finishes this evening. With that though, definitely got to give you the floor here though. Any thanks and shouts you'd like to give for that run tonight?
Well, first one, I got to do a shout out to Larry. I can't believe he actually won another race in Area 51. I was beginning to wonder if he was just going to be a 1 or 2 hit wonder this season, but I guess he managed to pull a rabbit out of his hat on that one. And so, yeah, I got to give him a shout out since he's constantly messaging me during these interviews. But him, just all the guys I get to race with, I enjoy every Sunday night getting to work with these guys. They're some of the best in the business, and, we get to have a really fun time, even when stuff don't go our way. We all usually tend to try to help each other and try to make the best out of bad situations. So just shout out to them, y'all, for the broadcast, the league, everything else. Just, definitely look forward to every Sunday night.
Yeah, so I tried hard. I tried to pitch Larry to join me in the booth this evening. He definitely was quick to shut that one. I didn't even think I had a chance to ask him before. He was like, no. But luckily I was able to bring Maxwell on. Saying I've had Maxwell with me before, so it's always good to have him with us. Saying he'll be joining us on Thursdays full time too. So that's gonna be a lot of fun there as well. So feel free to give Larry some more, kind of give him some flack back, and say do what you guys do best. But yeah, great job though tonight, Kevin. It was a lot of fun watching you guys throughout the race. Like I said, stressful, but you guys got the job done in the end when it mattered.
10-4, thank you, sir. And yeah, I can definitely say Maxwell is even a little bit better than Larry on the track. Now, don't let Larry fool you. Maxwell is a little bit better than Larry on the track, and he's definitely better than Larry would be in the booth. So
Now, I wouldn't say none of that. Larry's a great driver, and I learn a lot from him. But I like to give him a hard time as much as you do too. And why don't you give Larry a message for all of us here? Tell him he needs to promote your little sponsor a little bit more. Put that thing in victory lane a couple more times.
10-4 will do.
All right, that's our third place finisher, Kevin Hash. Now we'll jump over to second place and say you see him right there locked onto the bumper here coming through the front stretch. That's going to be the number 1 of Gabe Butler. Gabe, you opted to start from the back. I say we're used to seeing you and Kevin kind of at the front controlling these things. You guys went off strategy tonight, going kind of starting from the back and work your way up to the front there. Is that just strategy on the maybe not feeling like you had the pole speed tonight, or are you just trying to maybe stay out of trouble for that beginning portion of the race until it was really time to kind of show your hand?
Mainly just to stay out of trouble and possibly, save a little bit of fuel. But the way it worked out, we were changing our strategy the whole race, to be honest with you. We were looking at the fuel, looking at the potential cautions, when guys were going to pit, if they were going to wreck and pit, and it ended up working out for us.
Yeah, same. And like I said, I mean, it was definitely crazy on the strategy side of things. You could tell it was definitely really fluid throughout the race. And then obviously that last pit stop, we saw you and Kevin jump in a little early, kind of once that pit window opened to hop in. You were one of the few, you two pushed your way to get to the front of the pack, be that tail end of the lead lap, of course, just in case of that caution. You never want to have to worry about the wave around you. You just want to be able to kind of have it the old-fashioned way. Was that your guys' kind of plan? Was like, okay, once we make this stop, let's get to the front, and then basically, should anything happen, we know we're good to go to the end? Or, I mean, how stressful was it until you got to that point after that final stop?
It wasn't that bad. The main concern there was we didn't want to get caught a lap down by, if there was a caution, and we'd have to depend on the wave around, and probably we wouldn't have been able to pit. So the idea was to get on the tail end, and if something did happen, then so be it. But it also, kind of played into our strategy a little bit. We could determine when we decided to pit, because we knew everybody behind us had to. So
now you make it sound easy. I have to admit, I'm sure it was anything but I mean, yeah, you guys just, again, the strategy just worked out completely. As I say, I'm sure exactly how you drew it up there at the end. I was nervous. I thought somebody was going to try to stretch that fuel number out to the end. I was asking Kevin about that a little earlier. Was there any thoughts on your end? Did you think anybody was going to try to run that number to the end and maybe try to see if they could fuel mileage went out from you guys?
Yeah, we had a few thoughts on it. It was so close, but we would have had to run it absolutely bone dry. But the thing is, when you get out front, you kind of lose all that savings, really. So we decided then there was going to be an extra pit stop, and that's when we, kind of narrowed down the strategy a little bit. Like I said, it was changing the whole race, which was great. I mean, it really was. But luckily for myself and Kevin and the rest of the gang, it worked out pretty good.
Yeah, you guys definitely nailed it down here. It was just a great job, but like I said, by all of you guys. It was stressful for Maxwell and I think, up in the booth, just trying to make sense of it and figure out who's going to shake out where with the pit stops and everything like that. Like you said on the caution, I mean, just the two yellows, and saying those are just little pit spins on the exit of turns 1 and 2. Obviously, when you're used to running that like 40 whatever degrees of banking this place is, it's obviously really difficult to get back up to speed on the flat there. But you guys, again, just hats off to you guys, did an awesome job. But I'm gonna hand it over to Maxwell though, so I'm sure he's got some things he wants to quiz you on as well.
And the one question I've got for you, Gabe, well, other than how do you always make it to the front in every single one of these races I watch, other than that, big question I had is when you came in with the playoffs the way they were, everybody was within 10 points, which means everybody had to perform tonight. I was expecting a lot of strategy to come into play with getting every bonus point you could, the 0x's, the most positions gained, laps led, and most laps led. But, we didn't really see you guys up front until right at the very end. So were you not worried about bonus points that much tonight and trying to secure your spot with as tight as the points were? Or did you just kind of have a strategy from the get-go that you knew you could be right up there at the front at the end?
A bit of both. We kind of knew we could get up there, but also, you got to finish the race. So that's kind of one of the main reasons why we dropped back and just hung out and stayed far enough back to try and avoid any trouble. And I have to say, all the drivers did a really good job tonight. And I think the only cautions were, the people exiting pit road. So, I mean, we couldn't tell if there was going to be on track cautions or not. So that's kind of why we stayed at the back mainly.
Absolutely. Well, great run from you, man. I really enjoyed watching you guys pull off that absolutely crazy strategy. Just to, when we thought you could make it and coming in right there early, and we're kind of scratching our heads. And next thing I know, I see you leading here with 2 to go. So great strategy, great second place finish, and hopefully you can make it +1 next week at Daytona. Great race, Gabe.
Give it a shot. I appreciate it, Maxwell.
All right, Gabe. So before we let you go, though, so we definitely want to give you the floor, though. Any thanks and shouts you'd like to give for that second place run this evening?
Just a big shout out to all the guys that we run with. Top draw drivers. And again, I'll compliment the other drivers too. This is a tough track to race on, and everybody did a great job. And of course, big shout out to Area 51 for putting all this together and putting up with everybody, and for yourself, Gail, for doing a fantastic broadcast as usual. And shout out to Max for jumping in the booth there. Can't wait to listen to it.
Yeah, great job. I say it's you guys make it easy to do, like I say every time. I say you guys make these races easy to broadcast. And yeah, I agree though. Definitely appreciate having you as well here, Maxwell. I'm really looking forward to Thursdays with you. It's going to be a lot of fun. But enjoy this one to go to Gabe. I say obviously pressure's going to start ramping up again a little bit next week. But you definitely put yourself in a really good position here going into that next race at Daytona.
Yeah, looking forward to it. I appreciate it, fellas. Thanks.
All right, that leaves us one last driver, and that is going to be that 25 of Kevin Fries. Say it's a perfect paint scheme with the throwback week over at Darlington. I say he's got that throwback Budweiser paint scheme. I say he had some Budweiser competition with that 11 of Matt Wagner. Saw him on the track as well in that similar paint scheme on his Toyota. But obviously you're able to kind of get the final say on things with that. Say with that really good looking scheme. So I know you. We talked before. You put a lot of hard work into making that one yourself. So. First off, congrats on the win. Well done. But we talked to the other guys. Just what a race. Everything was everything was so fluid. It seemed like the strategies are changing lap by lap. How difficult was it to keep up with it this week compared to some of the previous races you guys have done?
That final caution really threw us for a curveball because we knew we needed to stop another time, but it was just short of our pit window, and we were also held a lap down. So we were just trying to do anything we could to make sure we could stay as close to the front, so we'd have a shot at being in the lead after we took on more fuel than anybody else.
Yeah, because I believe you guys had to take the wave around under that last yellow, right?
Yeah, we got stuck, had to take the wave around, unfortunately, but it ended up working out for us.
Yeah, that's the thing with you guys. Like once you guys can get locked onto one another, you guys, it's just like pretty much just pull the trigger. You guys are off to the races. We saw at that one point in the race, I think it was kind of towards the midpoint, Maxwell and I were noticing you guys were pushing hard to catch that lead pack again. You're about 4 or 5 seconds, I think, out after the pit stop cycle. You guys were running like 7-8 tenths of a second faster at one point towards the end of until you right when you got there. Dale Willoughby put down the fastest lap of the race, which was I think about 9 tenths faster than the leaders. We know when you guys get locked on, it's tough to compete with you guys. Just how, as I asked the other guys too, how stressful were those kind of final laps? Obviously trying to put yourself in position to either be on the tail end of the lead lap or at least the first car one down. Should a yellow come out? And then, of course, kind of just relying on hoping everybody else had to either pit again or maybe run out to give you guys a chance to chase them down before we got to the line there.
Yeah, we were a little worried there when I think it got up to 4.7, 4.8, and we really knew we had to push hard. We were trying to keep like a safe distance the whole race, and then with the pit strategy, you want a short pit and not go in with everybody because getting into the pits here is just treacherous, to be nice about it, and try not to run each other over. So we're trying to hang back, give ourselves tons of space, but we nailed pit exit almost every single time. That last time, if it just went a couple more laps, we would have been on the lead lap and made our lives easier, but unfortunately that didn't happen. But it is still an awesome race by everybody.
Yeah, I mean, you guys put on an awesome show. And so we were mentioning that with Gabe as well. Just the two cautions, 75 laps here, and saying the two cautions are just drivers, let's say, just a little too aggressive on the throttle, exiting the pits, looped it around. I'm saying just those little single incidents. Otherwise, they say you guys are caution free the rest of the time. So, like I said, the on track product, I mean, you guys were killing it this evening. It was just a really good job by you guys. To say strategy made us nervous, but you guys pulled it off in the end as always. But say. That being said, though, I got to hand you over to Maxwell. Definitely let him quiz you a little bit here as well.
Kevin, first off, awesome win tonight. So cool to see you pull it off. I get to race with you on Thursdays now, and man, I've been running around you a lot here the past few weeks, so it's been fun racing with you, man. But it was even more fun getting to watch you pull off this W tonight. But kind of this may be a two-part question here, but first, how do you plan a strategy in this playoff format with super speedways when you've only got 2 races to get it done? And 2, with that, you guys really hung out in the back. Me and Gael kind of noticed early on. I was like, these guys, we're not going to count them out. They're kind of hanging out back here. Yet you find a way to not worry about any bonus points. You don't try to rush up there to lead a lap. You don't try to rush up there to lead the most laps. You're not really looking at all those bonus points, it seems. And I was kind of scratching my head. Yet somehow with the strategy, you pull this off. So I guess what I'm trying to ask is, how do you even plan a strategy around this Super Speedway series with a playoff format, knowing you're watching these other playoff guys leading the thing? And 2, how in the world did you pull this thing off, man?
I couldn't have pulled it off without my teammates, especially in Super Speedway, are everything. But a lot of our strategy has been to try and hang in the back with these Xfinity cars. When you're out front, you're burning probably 2 to 3 laps more fuel. So we try to just play it safe most of the race. And with the bonus points, your biggest incentive for them is getting the 0 incident points. And if you give yourself space and you trust who you're around, that is the 3 bonus points for a clean race are more than anything else you can get. And if you're clean, you're probably going to end up at the front. And we also have a lot of smart guys who know when it's time to push. And then when things get a little sketchy, it's time to back out of this because it's not going to end well.
Absolutely. Well, man, hey, awesome win. It's cool to see you kind of pull it off right there at the end. Come through with all the crazy cautions and strategies, lap down, back on lead lap, pitting early, wondering what in the heck's going on. But to see you come out and get the W, man, that's got to make you feel good going into the rest of these playoffs and hopefully making it to that Final Four there in Talladega. So looking forward to seeing what you can do next week, man. And just for me, awesome win. And I can't wait to race with you on Thursday night, man. Looking forward to it. Great win, bud.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm looking forward to Thursday night. I believe it's at Charlotte this week. Fun track, but also a tough track. Takes a lot more strategy to work that than it does here. It's especially saving tires. It's a lot more fun. It's a completely different animal than this.
Yeah, it's definitely fun having you back over there as well. So you've been saying you and Gabe. I mean, you guys have been stepping it up over there. Say Gabe making the playoffs as well. So I don't think you'll be too far from that one as well. So before we let you go, though, definitely want to give you the floor, though. Any thanks and shouts you'd like to give for that win this evening?
Yeah, huge thanks to the admin and everybody who puts this on. You guys as well, and also thanks to the admin for being willing to adjust the fuel, make it so that there is more strategy going on, because that was a significant change for this week. We lost 10% fuel, which allows you to basically have an open book of strategy. So huge thanks to them, and everybody on Team Butanaka did a great job tonight, and it's always a blast running with them.
Yeah, you guys did an awesome job as always. But so you're definitely right on the fuel strategy thing. Definitely got very interesting there. Because we were trying to keep up who was going to be where and if who could make it or what. And yeah, it was definitely a blast to try to keep track of. But just congrats again though, Kevin. Say enjoy this one. There's obviously 2 more to go until the kind of the big prize there at the end. So good luck on it, and look forward to seeing you here in a few more races.
Absolutely. Thank you guys. Have a good night.
All right, Maxwell, that is our race winner in that number 25 of Kevin Freeze. As I kind of fitting to have the throwback paint scheme, say win on the Darlington throwback weekend. Nothing official here in Area 51. Say he puts together some really great looking paint schemes. So So we had a couple competing Bud Light cars on the Thursday side of things. We had some competing Budweiser cars this evening on the Super Speedway side of things. So it's always fun to see. But just, man, what a race though. I mean, that was hard to keep track of with everybody kind of in different strategies. Like you said, when those cautions came out, just really shook everything up, and as they really kept us and the drivers obviously as well on their toes.
You know what was the greatest thing about tonight? We thought we knew what was going on 3 and 4 different times in the race, and we got proven wrong every single time. The race constantly evolved. The action constantly ramped up. And, man, it got to where you couldn't even predict who was going to win this thing. And that's what makes the Super Speedway Series so exciting to watch. It's what makes this new playoff format we just incorporated this season. I think it ramped up intensity there. And at the end of the day, it's just like real life. We've got 4 of the 8 playoff drivers finishing top 4 in the race with all that crazy strategy. Who would have predicted that, right? We had some guys leading laps, some not. The points are going to be tighter than ever going into Daytona, and Daytona is going to be a cutoff race. So, man, I'm not going to be available to broadcast again next week, but I sure would love to be up in the booth again watching that one unfold. That's going to be an interesting race. I'm going to have to watch that one for sure. But awesome racing tonight. I think everybody did good. Pit road was a little tricky for some with our cautions, but other than that, I think they put on one heck of a show. And I can't wait to see how the rest of this 3-race playoff works out for these Super Speedway guys. And to even see which team, we keep not talking about that much, but which team is going to end up winning out there as we finish up at Talladega.
Yeah, exactly right. So that's a good point. So the team championship has been coming into play as well. And I think that one's just kind of its own deal. I don't think they're doing the playoff points on that one. It's just the kind of the best overall 2 finishers of each team each week. So you're right. So there's gonna be a couple things to be fighting for. So we'll definitely be looking into that as well as we start closing the season off. But you're right. I mean, just a great race tonight. I say it was a lot of fun. I said a lot of stuff going on, different strategies throughout the race. But I said these guys just again find a way to make things happen, and we talked about those top 4 playoff drivers. They found their way to the front when it mattered the most. So just hats off to them. Hats off to all the drivers again. Just the 2 yellows just from little pit mistakes, but the on-track products. Just the give and take you see from these guys week in and week out. Just it's great to see, and I think that helps the competition just that much more here. But Maxwell, as always, I can't thank you enough, man. It was always great to have you with me here. Looking forward to Thursday here in a few weeks when you're gonna kind of hang up the drivers, the steering wheel for a season at least, to jump back in behind the wheel, or jump away from the wheel to jump into the booth with me. I'm looking forward to that one for sure. I'm saying obviously, like if it's like tonight, it's gonna be a ton of fun to do all those races with you here. So appreciate it, and yeah, I hope you all enjoyed the race as well. We'll be back again on Tuesday for race number 2 of the Indy playoffs. So that's going to be the cutoff race, so that's going to be crucial for those guys. Dover obviously threw a big wrench into some of those drivers' plans. That's a very difficult race for them, but until then, as always, if you can, try to stay home, stay safe, wash your hands, and until Tuesday, have a good night, everyone.